English is the standard language of aviation. It is used by all the personnel involved in this industry, by pilots, by cabin crew, by air traffic controllers, flight dispatchers, etc, etc. So that is the thing. But why is this? Why is it so? Why is it English the standard language used in the aviation industry? In this video, we are going to be exactly answering that question. So if you guys are ready, fasten those seat belts because we're ready for takeoff. What's up, fellow aviators, and welcome back to the FlyTuber, Flying Simplified through YouTube. My name is Deadliest, and on this channel I talk about interesting aviation facts and aircraft knowledge. So if you are new here on this channel and if you haven't subscribed yet, and if you're interested in such interesting aviation topics, then you might subscribe, and you can do it by clicking on that red subscribe button or on my channel logo down here. Let's continue with the video. Language is the most basic form of communication. Only after gestures by hand or signals, etc. These we use to convey our messages or what we are trying to say to the other person, right? So language is only after gestures. The thing is, in aviation we cannot use gestures because in most cases the parties involved cannot see each other. So for example, the pilots sit in the cockpit of the flying aircraft. On the other hand, they need to talk to the air traffic controllers who are sitting way miles away, thousands and hundreds of miles away in the air traffic control tower, and they cannot see each other, so they cannot use gestures. So we are only left with the next best thing, that is language. So that is why language is important in aviation. So now that we have understood that language is one of the integral parts of aviation to convey your messages, to make the other person understand what you are trying to say, domestically in a particular country we could use that country's national language or the language that is most spoken over there for communication purposes. But that would not work for a diverse country like India, because right, in India itself, especially in the southern part, the Indian national language, that is Hindi, isn't much used and it's not spoken easily and understood by many, so that would not work. And not only that, aviation is not a national business, it's an international business. There are international flights, passengers always go from one country to another, so we'll have to, as pilots, we'll have to fly, across different countries, right? So it's an international business. Talking about that, a particular language of one single country would not work internationally and globally, right? And in such cases, pilots of different countries speaking different languages, and then the ATC controller will be speaking his own language of that country. That will be really chaotic and a lot of confusion will happen. There will be a lot of misunderstandings in the communications what the parties are trying to tell. So till now we have understood that gestures itself are not enough. In fact, they are unusable for communication purposes in aviation industry. So we have the next best thing, that is language, but that also has its own problems. That is, there are different languages spoken in different countries across the globe. So with that, we know that we need to standardize a particular language for communication for this industry. But why is it only English? Let's go ahead and look at what was the reason. But before we continue with the video, if you guys are getting information and value out of this video, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this one with as many friends as possible. And guys, I see that there are a lot of viewers on the channel, but the subscribers aren't as many. So that means that people are liking and people are watching the videos, but they are being reluctant in subscribing. And yeah, if you subscribe, they'll be really helpful. They'll be, that'll motivate me to bring out much more interesting, such interesting topics to you guys. So having said that, let's continue with the video. So in order to remove all the confusion and misunderstandings and miscommunications, we understood that we need one single language, a standardized language that is used universally and globally, accepted throughout the different countries, that is spoken in the aviation industry, right? You can think of it like, as an example of gestures itself. So for example, if you go to another country, if you go abroad, and if you don't know that country's language, there are certain gestures that are widely accepted, that globally everybody knows the meaning, right? So for example, if you want to nod a yes, you will be nodding your head vertically, and a no would be left and right, right? This particular gesture is global, even if you don't know the language of that country, right? If you are talking to someone, if you are trying to hold conversation, you can at least tell, nod a yes or a no to that person. This gesture is, widely accepted throughout the world. That is the same thing that we are trying to do in aviation. We want a standardized language, one same page for all the countries so that there are no miscommunications and confusions in communications. So in order to overcome this issue, the ICAO, or International Civil Aviation Organization, in 1951 recommended in its Annexure 10 of Aeronautical Telecommunications that English be used universally and globally and widely accepted as the language of aviation for communications in the aviation industry. This would bring the different people involved in aviation business like pilots and ATC and cabin crew on one single page because they'll be now speaking one standard language, and that would extract a lot of misunderstandings and confusions from communication in aviation. Not only confusion and misunderstandings, but it's also really risky for misunderstanding or miscommunication happening in aviation industry, and there literally have been a lot of crashes and accidents and a lot of loss of life in the past just because of misunderstandings and miscommunication in this industry. The best examples are Tenerife accident, the worst of all till now, wherein the pilots misunderstood or misinterpreted the takeoff clearance, and another instance was Avianca 52, wherein the flight crew they failed to impart clearly to the ATC that they are critically low on fuel. And also another example, the Charkhi Dadri mid-air collision above India, wherein the lack of English proficiency by the Kazakh air crew, the Kazakhstan flight, led to the mid-air crash of these two aircrafts. I've made a different video on the different air crashes in the past. I'll link that video up here and also down in the description, so you can go ahead and watch that video out. Therefore, to remove this risk as well, even the language, the English standard language that we use, has got certain standard phraseologies that we use in the aviation industry. There's a separate way of spelling out the A, B, C, D and 1, 2, 3 and different numbers and alphabets in the aviation industry. I've already made a video on that as well, so I'll be linking that video also up here and also in the description, so make sure to check that video out as well. So now if you ask me why English was the only language that was picked up for being a standard language of aviation by ICAO, if you look at the past, around the era of 1951, British Empire was really vast. It had a lot of colonialism and control over many different countries, including India, right? Even we got freedom in 1947. So around that era, British Empire had a lot of colonialism and a lot of control in many different countries, because of which English was one of the most spoken language in the globe. Obviously not in all the countries, but in many and most countries back then. And it was understood by many. That is why ICAO suggested that English be used for radio communications and radio transmissions in the aviation industry back in 1951. Well, that's it for this video, guys. I hope that you guys liked this one and it was informative and you got some factual information about the aviation from the past. And very soon I'll be coming up with very interesting and related video to today's one, and also that video is very requested, so stay tuned in for that. And until then, you can check the description and iCard for different videos that I suggest, or you could watch the pilot's alphabets video or any one of the videos on the screen right now. Until then, take care, bye bye and happy landings.